Trains, they've been the backbone of Britain for nearly 200 years. First Great Western runs the most complex fleet in the UK.
There's the right way, there's the wrong way, and there's the railway.
Operating on an iconic network.
And as I always say, we live the dream every day.
Coping with the crowds.
It's going to be a long night for these guys.
And keeping the trains on track.
Panic over, we're all good to go.
There's an army of drivers, engineers and workers fighting to keep this huge train set on track during a devastating winter. Braving the elements.
This is unprecedented, what's happening at the moment.
It's the kind of thing you'd tell the grandkids about.
And battling the backlash.
I wish we could turn the tap off in the sky.
It just gets worse and worse and there's no end in sight.
You just want to give them a hug, don't you?
Come hell or high water. Coming up, the Great Western Network faces its biggest ever challenge.
The worst fears have been realised, worse than we expected it to be.
A tube strike creates mainline madness.
I know everyone wants to get to work and you're not normally this keen.
And all hopes of a normal service are sunk.
The only way through this section there will be with a boat.
Britain's weather is out of control and the railway is in crisis.
Stop the train! Stop the train!
There's a lot of people working some very long days and having some very bad shifts.
There's damage to the infrastructure on an unprecedented scale.
The disruption's changing almost daily. You just don't know what you're going to be doing next.
Pushing railway workers and passengers to their limits.
Okay. If you all talk at once, I can't understand anything any of you are saying.
And nowhere is suffering more than the Great Western Network. This iconic railway travels through some of the most challenging and exposed landscapes of the south and west. And at Dawlish station in Devon, where the main line runs just metres from the sea, debris has been thrown onto the tracks from last night's storm, and the line is temporarily closed.
It's constant maintenance, unfortunately, and this year's been worse than most.
The man in charge of the urgent clear-up operation is Network Rail Engineer Steve.
We've had a team overnight helping to clear it up and to clear all the ballast off the rails. The protective reinforced fiberglass boards have been lifted up through last night's bad weather, so we're going to have to remove them, clear all the ballast away and put the boards back down. Otherwise, if there's something just dangling off the front of a train, it might rip the whole board up, might damage the train, stop the service.
This vital stretch of track that connects the main line between Exeter and Plymouth is used by over 10,000 people a day, and each hour it's shut has a huge impact on the region's economy.
My biggest concern really is just to get the track back so we can run a normal service. So a lot of work to do tonight, but we'll get it back in 24 hours, all be done.
With the clear-up operation underway, the team at Swindon Control, in charge of moving every train around the network, are monitoring the situation.
So I'm going to see how it goes tomorrow. Cheers everyone, turn up. Bye.
Service delivery manager Dave is getting a Met Office update for the South West for the week ahead.
They've just had the storm warning for Dawlish. It's given a black warning for tomorrow.
Oh, shut up shop and go home now.
Yes. Some number of weather stations on the cliff face themselves predict what the likely damage is going to be when there's any weather. So it's usually like green, yellow, red warnings. So you know if it's yellow or red, you might be in some problems. We've never actually had a black warning before out of that equipment, so we're not quite sure what it means other than the prognosis for a train service on Wednesday really isn't good. Needless to say, started at 6:30 today. Don't think I'll be going home that soon, so it's going to be a long day.
In the next sort of 24 hours, somewhere between about 25 millimetres likely to fall down towards the southwest and across the West Country south.
At Dawlish Station, Steve's getting the bad news from control.
The winds will be gusting to around 60 or 70 miles an hour.
4 metre high waves.
Or west to east
with a wind on top.
They won't kind of bend around around the corner and
Too wet.
quite so much tomorrow. But
It seems that Steve's hope of clearing the line in 24 hours was wishful thinking.
We've never known it declare a black day, so for all the weather we've had over the years, tonight could potentially be the worst one we've ever had.
At Network Control, the team are frantically putting a plan together to get passengers around the blocked line.
Now, we've got some buses coming in. They're due in with you around about 14:30. All right, I'll see what I can do. I'll talk to First Rail Support now and see if we can get a couple more coaches into you at Plymouth to help with the service down towards Penzance. All right, take care.
Part of the job is that you don't really know what every day is going to bring, you know, and, you know, the shift's only as good as the next phone call is.
For Dave, it's a logistical nightmare, compounded by engineering works that have closed another section of track nearby.
It's already meant that the train service is altered, it's thinned out because there's less trains than there are normally. And when you've already got a minimal train service, you can't really cut any more out of it without getting yourself into major grief, and that's kind of the situation we're at now, really. Get in. So it's all a bit messy.
As evening falls, at Dawlish, a constant barrage of 30-foot waves are pounding the sea wall.
The worst storms of this winter have been battering Devon overnight, and there are warnings of further extreme weather to come, and there's been further damage to the railway.
It's morning, and Dawlish station has taken a brutal pounding overnight.
So the metal handrail was across the front, across that gap. It's just taken it away. It's just amazing the power of the water, isn't it?
But Steve's been told there's more damage further down the line.
We need to assess the extent of any damage. I'm just about to gather the team. We are now going to go out and inspect. That's the basics, and we'll see how it goes during the day.
Until Steve's made an assessment of the track condition, the main line from London to Penzance is effectively cut in half. And at Paddington Station, the Network's London terminus, passengers are already feeling the effects.
It's cancelled.
It's cancelled?
It's cancelled, yes.
No sense.
Yeah.
Adam is in the firing line.
Well, today I imagine there's going to be lots of passengers that can't get past Exeter. Just got to deal with it, and when it happens, help people the best you can.
Hi.
Hello.
I'm going to Plymouth.
Apparently there's nothing going.
There's nothing?
Only going as far as Exeter at the moment, nothing onwards.
I'm going to be stuck in Exeter.
Yes, personally I'd rather say I don't know rather than give them false hope or give them information that's completely false.
I just want to get to Penzance in the next few days because I live there, so I'm not going on holiday. I just need to get back to work, and there were no trains out of Paddington last night. Managed to find somewhere to stay, and now we're sort of in the same position today. So we might have to overnight in Exeter and then try again tomorrow. So it's been a bit of an epic journey.
Things like the weather, unfortunately, is nothing we can do. It's just knowing situations. It's just helping them the best you can, trying to calm them down best you can.
Steve and the engineers have arrived at the site of the main damage and are being briefed by the police on how to proceed.
Go down there.
Yeah,
go down all the way around.
And follow the road.
And then you'll see the main part of the devastation.
Okay. We just want to see from here that we won't go any further.
Yeah, you guys know what you're doing.
Yes,
so, yeah.
not a problem.
What greets them is devastation on a scale no one could have imagined.
All the substructure for the railway has gone out to sea, as has the sea defence, and the rails are just dangling in the air. And the guy who found it last night actually had his car parked in front of that house, and he didn't think it looked too safe, so he removed his car, and when he came back the road had gone.
The storm has destroyed an 80-metre section of the main line, the worst damage in the network's nearly 200-year history. 1.5 million people living in the southwest are now without a rail link to the rest of the country, and rail engineers are facing the biggest challenge of their careers.
The worst fears have been realised, worse than we expected it to be.
Coming up, the tube strike puts pressure on the railway.
It's the high pace of London. Everyone needs to get there, and it's just non-stop.
And it's sink or swim at network control.
We're trying to run a railway that is falling to pieces around us rapidly.
The Great Western Railway is reeling from the mainline destruction at Dawlish. But this catastrophe is not the only problem the network's facing today. All underground tube trains are suspended because of a strike.
Guys, trying to come down this one, there's more room further down.
And at Ealing Broadway, on the outskirts of London, area manager Dean is not only dealing with his usual overground commuters, he also has underground passengers to contend with.
Literally, as we stand, there's no services from West London on the underground. So obviously, all them customers are coming onto our services, which they wouldn't normally do, which is delaying our services. So obviously, you can see the platform now. It's extremely busy. Guys, can you just make some room to let everyone off first, please? Guys, I know everyone wants to get to work and you're not normally this keen. They can't scoot down. They can't scoot down. It's the high pace of London. Everyone needs to get there, and it's just non-stop. Everyone needs to get to the same place. Everyone's got the same problem. They need to get to work, and we need to get them to work.
With thousands of extra tube passengers pouring onto his platforms, Dean's relying on AJ to keep him informed.
I'm the only one that can see where the trains are at the moment. So when I see the trains, I'll let them know so they can also inform more customers on the other side.
Papa 6. Just to keep your head up, we are having some cancellation due to signaling problems between Reading and Maidenhead. 752 has been cancelled and the 805 service to Paddington are all been cancelled at this present time.
Yep, received.
With his platforms already fit to burst, Dean has now lost 2 of his key peak time trains and likely to lose more if the signalling problem isn't fixed.
What would normally happen at Ealing Broadway, it will get this busy, then a train will come in, then it will take the load away. But what's happening now is obviously now we've not got that capacity anymore. Literally everything now is going to be full. So this will test us again to keep us busy. Excuse me.
That'd be a better way of queuing. I've missed a few trains already.
Well, unfortunately, all the trains are going to be like this morning, I'm afraid. So we can't do anything. We'll try and get you away as quickly as we can. Okay.
So I got here about 8 o'clock and it's now 35 past, so 35 minutes and I'm not even on a train yet. Great fun.
Today is obviously, exceptional circumstances. So, of course we all understand that, but when you're paying 23 for your ticket, it's not really right, is it?
Guys, can you make some room to let people off the train? Thank you. Can you move right down this side of the coach, please? Is it all full? Right, sorry guys, the doors are going to close. As you can see, we've left quite a few passengers on the platform. We just have not got the space.
With the station at breaking point, Dean needs to make sure that the next train that arrives has enough capacity to clear the bulk of the passengers off the platform.
Alpha 2 to Papa 2.
Papa 2 to Alpha 2, pass your message.
Yeah, AJ, how many coaches do we have on the first Great Western services?
Stand by.
6 coaches. So we have 6, 5 and 6.
Right. 6 coaches on this one. It's still be full of standing, so there's obviously a better chance that we can get everyone on this. It's not our fault, but at the end of the day, we've been given a challenge to deal with, but what we have to do is deal with that challenge properly, and that is to do with us, so that's the part that we need to keep on the ball with and make sure we do our best for our customers as well as Transport for London's. So this will be my next challenge now.
Back down the main line in Dawlish, engineer Steve and his team are trying to assess the damage caused by the violent storm.
Is it supported underneath where we stand here?
No, guys, it ain't supported. Come on back. There's a hole under here, so don't go any further.
And by now they're in the spotlight of the nation's media.
It can be a high-pressure situation. Everyone wants a timescale off you, everyone wants plans off you straight away, and we just need to get together and then get a coherent plan. And that's what we're doing right now.
This stretch of track, designed by Brunel, has withstood the pounding of the sea since 1847. Although there have been other breaches, this is by far the worst. With the tide still too high to inspect the hole, Steve and his engineers are walking the track to see just what they're up against.
We're actually going to be looking to see if we've lost any of the railway infrastructure, any of the foundation stone, any of the fence line, whether it's affected the signalling and the power cables. Right. Hopefully not, but we'll see as we walk. Okay. Is it wet?
Barely 20 metres down the line, and already things are not looking good.
This is a signalling location case where we've got 650 volts coming in, and we can see by all the mud. So we know at some stage the water was this level up to that mark. The force of the water, the thickness of the brick, it must be like a 40-ton truck travelling at 60 miles an hour to actually do the wall like that and consistently bombard it to make it happen like that for 300 or 400 yards. A huge amount of force. Never seen it before look like this. It's amazing.
The tide's now low enough to gain access to the hole itself.
And I'll tell you what, all that section of parapet there is all fractured throughout. One more good wave
and it'll go
over.
Yeah?
Yes. Yeah?
Yeah, right away. The structural engineer has assessed the situation, and this parapet wall for about 88 metres is likely to just fall over towards the sea at any stage. And in which case, when it does, 88 metres of track will go as well. We've got some more winds coming, there's some more tides, and it won't take much apparently to make it go, so it's going to look worse before it gets better.
Down there near weird, so like, can I give you a safe location for you to...
That's fine, even if you walk that way.
The situation is so serious, Mark Kahn, CEO of Network Rail, has arrived. Responsible for the infrastructure of the entire UK railway, he needs to find out from Steve just exactly where they stand.
It'll take some weeks. Yeah, this is going to take some weeks to do. Having seen it more, we're looking at most probably the earliest 6 weeks, we think, at the moment.
6 weeks.
But dark clouds on the horizon could scupper their plans.
The initial weather forecast for the weekend is they said if we think we had it bad last night, it's getting worse at the weekend. We might put in 5 cubic metres of stuff and 3 cubic metres get washed away. It might get destroyed as quick as we put it back.
That's the biggest concern.
It's an enormous task for Steve and his team. They must rebuild 80 metres of railway against the elements and against the clock. And what's more, other parts of the network are now under threat.
190 flood warnings are now in place across the UK. If you're travelling by train, there's problems on First Great Western, with delays between Taunton and Castle Carey due to the floods.
When you say flooding, how flooded? Almost at the top of the railhead.
The team at Swindon Control are dealing with track closures on a daily basis, making timetabling trains a challenge for even the most experienced.
So he's coming in off the fields quite fast, and he now believes that it's way above the top of the railhead, which means we don't run trains. So it looks like we might have just closed another line.
Which one's that?
Newquay.
The best I can do is I can start the coaches at 6:20 in the morning at Exeter and 6:15 in the morning at Newton Abbot, going in both directions.
In spite of the constantly changing situation, platform staff and passengers from Penzance to Paddington are soldiering on.
We've got a coach going direct to Taunton, actually. So if you want to... Where's the best? It's 6 to 1.5 dozen the others, to be brutally honest with you. Where are you guys off to?
Oh, we're going to Paddington. There's 23 of us.
23, right, OK. Yeah, head down there for a minute and I'll work out the best route for you.
Because it's absolutely stressful. It makes the trip so much harder, and everyone is incredibly flustered when you have to take the bus, yeah.
It's worse than confusing because things change literally in 24 hours. So you go on the website and you think that you're going to get a train, and then you find that the line is closed.
I asked in the ticket office there, and the the guy just sort of put his hands up and said it's a total disaster. We don't know what's going on, so, you know, my apologies.
Well, I live not far from the levels and not far from Dawlish. I'm in between the two, but I thought I'd chance coming to London today. They can run one train an hour across the levels. Hot luck if you get that train or you get on a coach.
Parts of the track were flooded at Newbury, at Hungerford, Castle Carey, and of course there's been more since, so it just gets worse and worse and there's no end in sight.
We'll still go, because it'll be an adventure, even if we do have to get a bus.
Yeah.
But we hate buses.
But we're going to get in a bus anyway, and we're getting a bus back. Sad times.
But we've got plenty of booze to see us through the horrific journey.
Yeah.
Right, afternoon everybody. I'm not going to use the word good.
Before putting an emergency train plan together, the team at Control call a crisis conference with staff on the ground to discuss their next move.
At the moment the floodwater is still rising. We'll be forced into running a severely constrained service. All I can say is that the weather forecast across much of Avon, Somerset, Gloucestershire for tonight into tomorrow is not looking the prettiest. All in all, it couldn't get much worse.
So we've really been hit hard this morning. Not only were we dealing with the problems with Dawlish, which we know is now going to be at least 6 weeks, but we've now got all these little incidents, and so people's homes have gone, farms have gone, but now the railway's gone as well. We've not seen anything like that, certainly in our careers, and we're struggling to find anybody who's alive that's seen this before.
This is pretty serious. We are at the point of, you know, struggling to run stuff. I think having a really simple and robust plan which we can communicate easily is very important.
I know you're absolutely under the cosh with trying to keep the service running, but if there's any message that we can do to get out to guys, as we haven't got the staffing here in Swindon, to start phoning around crews now to sort of prime them up. Unfortunately, we're trying to run a railway that is falling to pieces around us rapidly.
We're into some real hard territory here. We're looking at potentially up to 400 or 500 train alterations here. It's going to be quite a hard push to get it out as quickly as possible.
It's going to be shit.
Coming up, there's trouble in the Thames Valley as the rail crisis intensifies.
We're seeing water in places we've never seen water before.
And passengers are riled at Reading.
Or we get to make sure.
I could have left at 6 o'clock this morning.
I know.
Rail workers on the Great Western Network are battling disruption on all fronts. Recent floods, landslides and storm damage means that much of the network is cut off. Engineers must quickly make an overall inspection of the worst affected areas.
It's 990 for start on the Western.
The only option is to take to the air.
In 2 hours in the helicopter, it's taking 3 days to walk through.
The man on board today is John, who with camera in hand is in charge of the airborne reconnaissance.
We've got a number of sites that we want to look at today to see how many locations we've got underwater and are at risk.
I have a look at the line between Bridgewater and Taunton with a view to trying to assess the damage to the signalling equipment so we can make plans. This a bit here, Chris, just down there where the road's flooded, just check our logs are okay. What I do is I sort of guide Chris into the areas that I want to focus on, and then Chris, he takes lots of high resolution images for me. The best way I can describe it is a sort of a Google Street View for the railway.
It's completely impossible to access by road, pretty hazardous, if not impossible, by foot. We also wouldn't be able to get any form of rail machinery out there because it's flooded.
There are some quite detailed pictures of this piece now, Chris.
It makes a big difference and gets us quite a bit ahead of the game.
Meanwhile, down at track level in Somerset, there's one access point available, and a detailed inspection must be made of the flooded rails.
Absolutely amazing and horrifying at the same time.
Braving the elements today are Neil and his team of engineers, who are assessing the structural damage of a vital part of the network.
This is a busy commuter line between Taunton and Bristol. It's a busy service in the morning. The train is generally always full to capacity. Looking here, this
lake that's formed now. It must be, what, 5 miles plus now in this direction, and probably not much distance on this side now. Can you believe how much of a current there is there, though? You can't really describe how big out here, can you? This water's come in so quickly. A week ago, the water was in the fields, but it hadn't built up to here. What we've got here, isn't it? We've got no ballast shoulder, Andy, now.
It's just incredible how it's eroded the shoulder like that.
What we don't know, though, is what damage has happened underneath him, obviously. These signalling cabinets contain sensitive signalling equipment. These obviously have been underwater and still underwater, so they cannot be relied on. So when the water does recede, we're going to have a big job on our hands of basically taking all the signalling system apart and rebuilding it.
We reckon this water out there is at least 8 feet deep, because the top of the railway fence, which is 4 or 5 foot high, is completely disappeared.
Hi Steve, I'm just phoning up just to report in and just to say that the water now is extended by another 200 yards back towards Taunton. The only way through this section now will be with a boat. For Dawlish, we sort of understand the tidal conditions and they can work around the tidal conditions. Unfortunately, the difference of this site is it's a waiting game now. There's nothing we can really do now until the water starts to subside.
With 50% of the railway already suffering disruption, there's now flooding in the Thames Valley, by far the busiest section of the Great Western Network. Water damage to signals on the main line at Maidenhead means the number of services in and out of London have been reduced by 75%, crippling the commute for the 100,000 daily passengers.
This is quite unrelenting, really. We're seeing water in places we've never seen water before, and that's proving quite difficult.
The situation is so grave, First Great Western's managing director, Mark Hopwood, has arrived at the station.
And of course the rain keeps on coming, combined with all the other challenges that we've got, flooding, the collapse of the seawall down in Dawlish. It's clearly a difficult time for the business.
Good morning, welcome to the station.
Hi Teresa again.
Hi, good to see you again. And Tim later.
He's here to brief Home Secretary Theresa May on their action plan.
So it starts about 1.5 miles west of here, and this water is like that for about just over 4 miles. Right. We're trying to avoid using the main lines because there's actually 5 signals out of use, so it's a manual system of operation, and that's really why the capacity is so restricted.
Yes. With the electronic signals underwater, the team is relying on traditional manual signalling methods to keep the train service alive.
My one was G Bravo 23, yeah, and this is G Bravo 0.
The main system in use is block working. As drivers enter a section or block of track, they're issued with a ticket.
Yeah, good morning, it's Rob here from Maidenhead Platforms.
At the end of the block, the driver passes over his ticket, confirming to the signaller that the next train can come through.
And I've got a green aspect on Sierra 174.
But you can see, compared to whizzing through at 125, it just slows the whole operation down.
Well, everybody knows when it's sort of natural. Otherwise, you know, something like the weather, everybody accepts there's a limit to what you can do with it, I think. Yeah. And once everybody knows what the sort of pattern is, and they get to know that there'll be so many trains and so forth, and I think it's easier for them.
We've managed to establish a pattern now, I think.
It's very disruptive, and the staff are having to deal with circumstances they've not seen before, but obviously we're just keen to get this fixed and get services back to normal just as soon as we can.
With so few trains running, teams at stations in the Thames Valley are under more pressure than ever before, and passengers are being warned not to travel.
And inform them to make sure we get the right... I know.
I could have left at 7 o'clock this morning.
I know.
At Reading Station, duty manager Gary is doing his best to get his thousands of commuters to work on time.
The major issues that are affecting us really here today is we've had signalling issues up the Twyford. One of these signal boxes is underwater, and we've also got flooding at Hinksey Crossing, which is on the way up to Oxford. Unfortunately, it's one of those things that's out of our control. I wish we could turn the tap off in the sky, but we can't. Things are swapping around quite a lot this morning.
But I can believe you guys as opposed to the signs.
The signs are playing catch-up a little bit. The signs are pre-programmed and show what should be happening. Unfortunately, when a service is cancelled, there you go, it's just swapped over now.
But with such drastic timetable alterations, the right information is slow to filter through to passengers.
Change at Didcot Parkway and there's rail replacement services from there. Oh, goodness.
Can they not display this in Maidenhead?
Oh, I can only apologise for that, sir. There, you've got to get back on one.
I don't hold these responsible for the floods, obviously, but the main issue for me is informing customers so we can at least make a decision.
The rush hour is as busy as ever, but with only a quarter of regular services running, Gary needs to stop the platforms becoming dangerously overcrowded.
Gary's not many more coming down for the moment. We've got 10 minutes until the next one almost.
Yeah, roger that, mate. OK, folks, the next train is absolutely swinging from the rafters. So what we want to do is we want to get the train into the platform first of all, and then we can determine how many people to let onto the platform. No, with the train itself, it's absolutely heaving. The services all morning have just been absolutely packed because of the infrequency of them due to the flooding. We don't want to have to keep you all here, we want to get you moving as quickly as we can, so...
The problem is we can't say the same thing to our clients, you know, we need to be there at time.
I totally understand that, sir, but unfortunately we've had additional problems with signals being underwater as well up in the Maidenhead area, sir, so... Sorry, sir. It is, isn't it? You bear with me, I'm going to go and do a little dance over there for sunshine. Thick skin and broad shoulders. 99.9% of people understand that there are problems that are outside of our control. Well, I think what frustrates people more than anything else is if they don't see anyone they can go and have a conversation with or find out information. So even if you haven't got exactly the answer to their question, as long as you just say to them, look, we are trying to get it, they appreciate that.
Yeah, London end of the platform, Gary, if you can send them down, mate.
Fantastic. There you go, folks. Thanks for your patience.
Gary's system and his charm seem to have done the trick.
Thanks, mate. No problem at all. Have a good day, sir. This is going to get rather cosy now. Glad I put deodorant and aftershave on this morning. A lot of people's concerns are what's going to happen this evening when they're journeying home. Well, unfortunately, we don't have that crystal ball that we can tell if it's going to rain or not. That's a little bit of a case of wait and see what happens with the good old British weather.
We don't know what's going to happen at this end, so you need to be further back in case that wall goes.
At Dawlish, it's low tide, giving Steve and his team a chance to tackle some crucial repair work to the railway track.
We need it on the ground. That way, if it's on the ground, nothing's going to fly off. We can have people walking around, it's not going to land on them. Once it's on the ground, it's safe. We'll leave it there, and the railway structure will be built on top of all of that. And if someone wants to, in 200 years' time, come and dig it up and find some rails, well, that's what he'll find.
These steel tracks are designed to withstand the constant pounding of 400-ton trains overhead. To cut them, Steve's brought along a specialist piece of kit.
It's like Jaws. It's hydraulically operated, and it literally goes in and grabs and snaps the rail.
It's crucial the team work fast to make the most of low tide.
Unfortunately, the weather has now come back in, and there's a risk that more wall might go, more track might go. So we've got to act straight away, and that's the challenge.
But almost immediately, they hit a problem.
It can't do it. Is that a hydraulic issue? The machine operator can't increase the pressure to allow the hydraulics to actually snap the rail. Sod's law, that's the story of the day, and we have to be a bit more patient. These things are never straightforward. Doesn't quite go to the plan, and it's not every day we're trying to fill a hole with some rail that's dangling over it.
A specialist is rushed to the site who manages to fix the machine. But it's now a race to get the track cut before the tide comes in.
Hey. Thanks, well done, mate.
With the track made safe, local resident Julie, whose house was most badly damaged, has returned to try and salvage some of her possessions.
We saw the wall disappear, and then we noticed that the waves was eating the tarmac and just coming closer and closer to us. And that was it. Then we decided we had to get out. Devastating, because, you know, you don't think that it's going to happen to you.
We'll do what we can for you to see if we can retrieve as much as we possibly can before another bout of bad weather comes and takes it away.
Right, okay.
Okay?
Oh, look, they're bringing out the bikes. Oh, bless you. Oh, it's just lovely that they care and it's not just about the train line.
It's a good start, but there are many more challenges that lie ahead.
The weather is turning bad again for us. My biggest fear is with the tide and the strong winds that the waves are going to be up against these houses again. That's one of those 6-hour periods where we stand everything down, walk away, let nature do its course, whatever it's going to do to the railway, we come back, lick our wounds and crack on.
Coming up, the railway suffers its final blow as Mother Nature delivers the biggest storm of the year.
Oh, flipping Ada.
Now we're just trying to establish the exact height of the water.
We're in the hands of the gods.
Yeah.
The Great Western Network is suffering its biggest crisis of all time. Vital stretches of track and signals are out of service, putting pressure on the entire operation.
High tide's what? 1740?
1840.
Have you been looking at the old Sailor's Almanac again?
Train services are running at a mere 20% capacity, and service delivery manager Dave and the team at Control are starting their busiest shift of the week.
Late Turn Friday is famously a bad shift across the railway. It's when we see one of our peak flows of people. First week of half term, you generally expect things to be even worse in terms of people looking to go away to the West Country. We're not running anywhere near the level of train service we would normally run, and actually a lot of effort is going into running effectively a skeleton service. But it is very much a case of just watch, wait and see and hope we've got everybody in the right place.
Hello. Sorry, we need to talk.
Oh, hello.
Penzance is being washed away, literally.
As we speak,
is being destroyed. The mom has reported to Morag that the water is at platform height in platform 4, and there is everything across the track.
The rush hour has only just begun, and a massive storm has hit Penzance at the western end of the main line, and is quickly making its way eastwards across Cornwall.
It is going to get worse. If we're going to pull the plug, we'll do it in a controlled way. So the decision's been taken. It's actually not safe to run trains west of Plymouth anymore. Rather than just parking trains up at the first station and telling people to actually like go home, we have to work out a way of closing the railway in a controlled manner.
So like Cornwall suspended?
Yeah, forget it. Route crew in the morning.
In daylight,
we'll
take it from there.
Yeah. Okay. We'll clear the trains we've got in the area. Once we get them to suitable locations where we can deal with the people, we can sort them out with taxis if the roads are safe, or if not, we can get them put in hotels. Once that's done, then we can be in a situation where we can actually close the service down properly.
To close down the service, Dave must track every train in the county and then decide the best way to get them out of danger.
The unit's still at Falmouth. You don't want it to run, do you?
The dynamic risk assessment would suggest that it's just as bad to leave them on the train as it is to keep it trucking. Reduce speed. I would say 20 or 30.
20 or 30.
Yeah.
But there was trucks
there's units there, but nothing. They're all being stayed.
That's all been wound down.
That's all been wound down.
Yeah, so that's a start. This is the second time in a fortnight I've closed Cornwall because it's been that bad. I've never known anything like this before.
If it's within 50 millimetres of the top of the railhead, we're meant to be operating at 5 miles an hour.
To add to their problems, flooding is intensifying across the network, threatening the safety of even more trains.
Well, for the time being then, first, obviously, I'm just trying to keep our services running, the same as you guys, and I appreciate you doing a great job. However, from this point onwards, can we then ensure our trains are doing 20 miles an hour through that area, and obviously we'll have to take this up at a later date.
And in the Thames Valley, the weather is still affecting the signalling, piling the pressure on an already overstretched service.
I'm not the bringer of good news, and I'm hearing there's been a further track failure at Maidenhead. I don't know what the impact of it's going to be, we're just going to keep on running trains for now.
This is about half an hour late anyway. From Swindon.
Sorry, Jamie. Why are you sorry? Because it's shite.
On the platforms at Reading Station, tension is building as passengers are struggling to get home.
The last train I've just waited for, so we waited about 10 minutes, that's been cancelled again. Got plans to go and cook for my girlfriend and stuff for this evening, and yeah, that's out the window.
How was that train just gone then?
Like I said, it's only waiting here 3 minutes. You could have got another load of people and kept the time. No one really seems to know what's going on. It's buses and it's trains and it's buses, you're on the wrong one, so it's been a bit, the communication breakdown basically.
After the first delay, there's supposed to be a second train. There was a second delay, and then on the third delay, we was on the train stopped on line for about an hour because of water.
And they had to use hand signals to get to Paddington because the lights were down, so it's been a bit of a nightmare day.
Yeah, badly.
The one that's at par, 1 Zulu 88, we're going to move that 20 mile an hour to Plymouth, get it out of the way.
On that.
Yeah.
So like 1 Alpha 92's the tree at Healing Bradley.
Yeah, train maintenance.
It's now at the peak of the rush hour, and the storm is moving steadily eastwards, leaving a path of destruction across the network.
Neil Whitley there.
Yep.
He says, don't quote me on this, but he thinks it's not a tree that's come down at Trowbridge, he thinks it's a landslide. He said, don't quote me on that. But he seems to think that's what it might be. He says it doesn't look it's going to be an easy job.
The storm that took out Cornwall not more than 45 minutes ago, the other flank of it is effectively just taken out the route through to Southampton Central. The road conditions are atrocious, there's trees coming down, so we're a bit stuffed there, for want of a better phrase. This is moving this way.
Yeah, I know.
We don't know what we're going to lose now.
We don't. No, this is the problem. It's not the cover for.
Right, just in the area.
No, it's across the network now. It is. Yeah.
Well, we can run south to Salisbury, can't we?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, flipping Ada.
Both lanes are blocked.
So we're blocked at Dean, we're blocked at Trowbridge.
Yeah.
Right.
So we just screwed ourselves up right in the middle, haven't we?
Right. So we need to extend black, really, don't we now?
All right. Leave it with me.
I'm just trying to think what we can do. We can't just got to sit back and wait, now.
We have. It's this awful point that we're in the hands of the gods.
Yeah.
We are seriously.
With the majority of trains made safe, Dave and the team are battening down the hatches and are braced to deal with the next crisis.
There's a lot of people working some very long days and having some very bad shifts. I think what probably keeps you going is just the feeling that, we will get through this. But at least there's tea.
Coming up on the railway,
Stop the train! Stop the train!
a scrum of rugby fans pushes the network to the limit.
People jumping over the gates.
It's absolutely ridiculous.
There's a problem at Paddington for rookie Joe.
If you've ever prayed for a train to go, this is the one.
And it's an uphill struggle as the railway hits the road.
Just making 10 mile an hour up this hill.
Digging a little deeper for hidden facts tonight at 10 on Channel 5 in the secret D-Day disaster revealed. Next, a bitter historical feud between two best friends in new series Britain's Bloodiest Dynasty.